Council for Tuesday, November 13th, 2012. And we'll start with a roll call.
Honorable Mayor Fouch.
Present.
Honorable Vice Mayor Adams.
Here.
Honorable Councilman Dyer.
Present.
Honorable Councilwoman Norris.
Here.
Honorable Councilwoman Green.
Present.
And the invocation and pledge of allegiance. We ask Chief Pledge of Allegiance. Sorry.
Oh Lord, our Heavenly Father, as we gather here tonight in the closing of this year, we ask Thee thank Thee for the blessings that we've received, and we ask You to continue to guide and direct this governing body. We ask this in Your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Next item, consider agenda and minutes as presented. Consider approval of the agenda as presented. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Second. We have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 2, consider approval of minutes of the council meeting held on October 9th, 2012.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. There being no old business, we'll move to new business. Consider approval resolution 278-12 requesting the assistance of the state representative Ryan Williams to obtain an opinion of the Tennessee Attorney General addressing the legality of the city administrator and police chief of Algood being simultaneously held by the same individual. And Brent, would you like to speak to why we're doing this?
Sure. Turn this mic on. Let me glance at that resolution, Mayor, if I could. It came to my attention recently that a letter from MTAS is the Municipal Technical Advisory Service that gives advice to city municipalities. A letter was written and addressed to former Councilwoman Ruby Hawkins that seemed to address the issue, a question she posed to them before she left office, as to whether the police chief and the city administrator could both be the same individual and serve in same positions at the same time. The opinion letter issued by MTAS answered that by saying no. The authority that the attorney for MTAS gave relied on one case, we'll call the Thompson case, and another attorney general's opinion. The mayor and council people then asked me to look into the issue to see if I agreed with that position. And frankly, as I did research councilmen and women, and I spoke with that attorney with MTAS personally, I found that the factual basis of that attorney's opinion was very different than what we have. In other words, all of the law that I found on similar situations, as well as the Attorney General's opinion that she relied on, was factually different than our situation, in that all of the situations were where both positions were elected, well, at least one of the positions were an elected position. And I believe that the law is that that would be inappropriate. If you have one elected position that supervises a position that's appointed by that body, that would clearly be illegal. That is not the case here. And so, in my opinion, the matter is not settled. The issue relates to our Chief Jim Eldridge. He simultaneously holds the police chief position and the city administrator. Neither of those positions are elected. They're not elected positions. They're not elected offices. And there is no case that is on point in that. The authority that the MTAS attorney relied on, in her opinion, was different in that at least one of the positions in every situation was an elected position. So I have advised the mayor and council people here that to settle this issue, it would be advisable to seek the assistance of Representative Ryan Williams in requesting that the Attorney General issue an opinion as to the specific circumstances that exist here in the city of Algood to settle this matter. I believe that the issue is still up in the air because it's factually different than all of the other cases that are out there. And so I think with the passage of this resolution, I've talked with Representative Williams, and I think that he will be willing to offer his assistance in requesting the Attorney General issue an opinion as to the legality of one person holding both positions. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Okay, and would you please read the entire ordinance?
Okay. Whereas the position of city administrator and police chief for the city of Algood, Tennessee are currently held by the same individual person, both positions being appointed by the city council and neither position being an elected position. Whereas the city council has learned that the Municipal Technical Advisory Service, MTAS, recently wrote a letter addressed to former Councilwoman Ruby Hawkins, which appears to be in response to an inquiry made by the former councilwoman prior to the end of her recent term. The copy of the letter received by the city from the press appears to opine that it is not legal for the same person to hold the position of city administrator and police chief simultaneously. Whereas a citizen group recently posed a question to the city council as to whether one person may legally hold the unelected positions of city administrator and police chief simultaneously. Whereas the city council asked the city attorney to inquire into this issue, the city attorney has determined that the case law relevant to this issue and the authority cited and relied on in the letter from MTAS appears to be significantly factually different, and therefore the question is unsettled. Whereas the city attorney has recommended that the city of Algood seek an opinion from the Tennessee Attorney General that will directly address the law as it is applied to the facts applicable here. Whereas the mayor and city council of Algood, Tennessee desire to seek the assistance of State Representative Ryan Williams to request that the Tennessee Attorney General issue an opinion on this issue. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Algood, Tennessee, the following. Number one, the City of Algood, Tennessee requests the assistance of Tennessee State Representative Ryan Williams in obtaining an opinion from the Tennessee Attorney General that specifically addresses the issue of whether the position of city administrator for the City of Algood, Tennessee, and the position of police chief for the City of Algood, Tennessee, may be held by the same individual simultaneously. Number two, this resolution shall become effective upon its adoption, the welfare of the city requiring it.
So, in the interest of being fair and doing what's right, as we've said from the beginning, that's our plan. That's what we want to do. It's what we're going to try to do. It's what we strive to do. It's pretty irrelevant who raises a question. The question is raised, and we want to find out the answer, and the way to find out the answer is the authority. And the highest authority we can find in the state of Tennessee is the State Attorney General, short of going to a court, which I assume there would be a lawsuit filed, and we would go to a court, and a judge would determine that. This seems to be the final step. So what the Attorney General says is what the answer is, and we want to know the answer. So all those things considered, I will move approval of Resolution 278-12.
I'll second it.
Any discussion from council? All in favor of approval of 278-12, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item number 2, consider approval of ordinance 570-12 to amend the personnel ordinance 563-12 related to the nepotism policy of the City of Algood. And would you please read that ordinance, 570-112, the amendment.
The mayor and the council of the City of Algood, Tennessee hereby ordain. Section 1. The mayor and city council of the City of Algood previously adopted Ordinance 563-12 on 2 readings, which ordinance adopted a new personnel rules and regulation employee handbook. Section 2, the Personnel Rules and Regulations Employee Handbook previously adopted is hereby amended as following. Section 5, Employment, paragraph R, nepotism is hereby replaced with the following. R, nepotism. Two members of the same immediate family may not work in the same department if one of the employees is in a supervisory or management position and therefore supervises directly or indirectly the work of the other. Where two or more existing employees come into conflict with this policy due to marriage and the city cannot reasonably transfer one of the immediate family members to another department, and the family members can't decide which one will leave voluntarily, the employee in the more junior position will be subject to discharge. The nepotism prohibitions stated here and above do not apply to a related supervisor and an employee who are in a working relationship within the same department of the city prior to the effective adoption of Ordinance 563-12. Section 3, the city recorder is hereby directed to cause an abstract of the essential provisions of this ordinance to be published once in the Herald and Citizen newspaper within 10 days after its adoption. Section 4, this ordinance shall be effective upon its passage on second reading, the public welfare requiring it.
So the purpose of this amendment to the ordinance is unintended consequences of our adoption of the new personnel regulations put our current practice in violation. And two particular employees that have been on the payroll for plus 20 years each fall under those regulations. And to correct that, what we decided, we do not want the situation to exist going forward for new employees. We do not want to disrupt good employees that have been on the job for more than 20 years. So this resolves that issue. It was an unintended consequence and an oversight, and should have been put in the exemption to start with. So that being considered, I will move approval of 570-12.
I'll second.
Any discussion in the council? All in favor of 570-12 say aye. Aye. All opposed? And that amendment carries unanimously. No further new business. We'll go to the city administrator's report. Chief Eldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everything seems to be going good through the departments. The city hall's coming along well. They're basically working inside with the interior work, drywalling, plumbing and wiring. And I do believe that they are on schedule and will be completing this project sometime in mid-January. The Williams Circle project that we've talked about quite a bit for the last 2 years, phase 1 is right now completed. We had to do a change order and we have to do another small one. Mr. Tucker from Jimmy Haley and Company is going to come and address the council in December at the work session on this, but I have talked with all the neighbors involved in phase 1 and they're very pleased at this time of the progress, and the work has been done very professional and on time. So hopefully we're getting this project slowly behind us. In other items, Mr. Jones just wants to talk to you a little bit about paving that was put into the budget for the spring of the year, and he wants to talk to you a little bit about the telemetries for the pumping stations. He's looked into this quite a bit, and he saved the city quite a bit of money. So at this time, during my report, I'm going to turn this over to you, Mr. Jones, to give your report of your department.
All right, what we want to do is tell you about the...
Victor, we hold that up close to you there, buddy.
First, I want to talk to you about the water tank up on Brotherton Mountain. We took it down and had it sandblasted, so it's on schedule. And the paving, we're running behind on it. We wanted to get, some paving done before, but we was counting on the county highway department to do some grading for us, because we don't have a grader to cut the shoulders and stuff. So they've been behind. So, but I have talked to Mr. Jones, and we're getting ready to start that. So probably what won't see no paving until probably spring. And then, other than that, that's all we've got.
Telemetry, we're going to address telemetry.
Oh, yeah, and the telemetry on the Brotherton Mountain water tank and the Miranda Road water tank. Going to come back next month, and talk to you guys about amending the budget to get them telemetries in. We've been having a lot of problems up on the mountain on weekends and stuff where water is out, and generally it's out at night. So if we had these telemetry systems, it would let us know way before the people were even having to call. But I want to come back and talk to you with that.
Anything else, Mr. Jones?
No, that's it.
You did have some existing telemetries that you have saved some money on, correct?
Yes, yes.
Was originally 20.
Yes, and the one that are there, they're going to have some major repairs, especially up on the Brotherton Mountain. The one we have up there, it doesn't notify us when they have a problem, but it just, the tank and the pump station communicate with each other. So what I want to do is go to a system that will notify me within seconds of, if there's a failure at the pumping station, so that the people in the Brotherton area won't be out of water, or the Miranda Road area.
And you've got some water tank restoration going on at present,
Yes,
right?
the Brotherton Mountain water tank right now is being sandblasted and repainted as we speak.
And you participate that completion in the next?
About 3 weeks.
Okay. That's something that you budgeted for in your budget?
Yes.
It's underway at this time. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Other than that, all other departments that I've reviewed their budgets are all in the black and running on schedule. And Mr. Jones has started his leaf pickup, and he has quite a bit of salt on hand in case we have a bad winter. All other departments is running well. And do you have anything for?
Everything's going good.
Fire Chief Bilber is absent tonight due to some training, but he assured me he hadn't anything to address before council. The only other thing I want to mention to everyone is the Christmas parade. That's December the 6th at 6 o'clock, and I want everybody to come out and have fun like they always do. And if there is bad weather, inclement weather, we set a rain-out date for that Sunday at 2 p.m. So everybody try to remember and come out and enjoy yourself. Mr. and Miss Tommy West will be the Grand Marshals this year. We all know Tommy. He's been a tremendous asset to this community and has helped a lot of folks out in need during his tenure of the years he run a family grocery store here. He's definitely a person that is a pillar to the community, and my hats is off to Tommy. I don't think we could have picked a better Grand Marshal. So we appreciate the service he's given to this city for the last 20+ years. Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay, item 8, hearing the citizens or delegations. Anyone like to address the council, please pick up the microphone and come to the podium.
Good evening. I promise you, Mayor, I'm not going to ask you for a swimming pool. Never, ever, ever again. But I will ask you for a park. I know you told Pam that if we would come with $50,000 and bring it to you, that might be a good starting place for us to have a park. You know, you could petition Parks and Recreation through Upper Cumberland Development District. They have a lot of money to give for parks, and that's where you start. Once you start with that and get that petition in, then people will come forward, like Dogwood Park did. You know, they donated trees and bricks and things like that to get a park going. That's a good way to do that. Think about that. That's a real good thing. I think our city would love to have a park like the Dogwood Park in Kubel. And I think that setting the tone like you did this evening and working things out is a really good thing. It makes me feel better about the city. Another thing I got to ask is, if we have an emergency in the city at night, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, who do we call?
Call the police department.
And what do
Call
they?
911.
I'm not talking about somebody killing somebody, that kind of emergency. I'm talking about a mechanical emergency.
If you'll call the police department, they'll get in touch with city administrator and he'll get in touch with Victor or whoever it needs to be.
Okay.
May I ask, on that right there, dial the Putnam County Sheriff's Department non-emergency number, and then they'll call me or whoever you need to.
There's a link through from our phone system to the 911, to the county. Yeah, go ahead.
If you need the police department, if it's urgent, it's like you said, it's not an emergency. When you dial 537-6830, you get automation. First thing it says, if you have an emergency, press 1 now. Once you press 1, it takes you straight to 911. You'll get a live person there, a dispatcher, and you tell them, I need the police at such and such address, it's urgent. They dispatch it immediately. You can either do that, or you can do, as Inspector Jones said, you can dial 528-8484, and that'll put you through to county dispatch.
Well, we probably, at some point in time, we might think about like the city has and the electric company has a night number or emergency number, because we had that situation. Victor knows about it. When that water exploded, we could not get anybody for a long, long time. We had a lot of damage. That was a couple of years ago. We just couldn't get anybody through the police department or 911 or anybody. They just kept telling us to get a plumber, and it was a water main busted, and it was a potentially dangerous thing. So you might want to think about getting a number that somebody would be, you know, able to answer at night. Now, next question is about wintertime water bills. December is about to come on us. And every December, for some reason, the water bills all jump up about $10. And if you'll go back and look at the water bills historically, in December, year after, and I'm going back 25 years because I've been managing an apartment complex for 25 years. These people will have a minimum water bill month after month after month. And then the month of December, their bill will jump up $10. The reason it does that is because the water doesn't get read for like 38 days because these people are on vacation, it's Christmas, they get their Christmas vacation, they get New Year's, and that can't get made up to those people. These little old people, maybe it's a senior citizen and they don't have that much money to pay a water bill, and they'll come to me and they'll say, look, what happened to my water bill? Happens every year. Okay, if they pay $21, $21, but in December, it went up to $30, $35 because the bill didn't get read. You can't make that up to them because in January, it goes right back to $21, $21, $21. And if you'll look at how much revenue you bring in for that December water bill, you'll see that it's a lot greater than it is any other month. And that's not fair. Those people, that needs to be prorated.
Sure, we'll look into that.
Look into that for me.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Pam Villavazzo with ACAC. I think the first question I wanted to ask tonight was, when was the meeting on this ordinance? And was it publicized, or on the nepotism ordinance? Was there a meeting or anything that went on to decide on this? Was it something that...
Well, now, I think last time we talked, we're not going to do a question and answer session, right? But I'll tell you that the meeting for this ordinance is here. So if you'd like to address the council, please do so.
Well, I'm just,
But
my
we're not
concern
gonna- we're
is
not
just
gonna
over
do-
sunshine laws.
We're not going to do a question and answer session. You
Okay.
heard the meeting for this ordinance. It was right here.
Yeah, it seemed like it was kind of already
Okay.
decided in advance, so I was just kind of concerned about the sunshine law issue. And since the attorney is here right now, I thought maybe...
You want to
you know.
address that, Brian? Have we had a meeting?
I've not attended, nor am I aware of any meeting that discussed the nepotism policy. This was the first reading. I prepared the ordinance myself, and there's not been a meeting to my knowledge.
Okay, well, that's all I really wanted to know about that. The other thing is, several residents in Algood have mentioned to us that they would like to see something like "In God We Trust" on the new City Hall. That's something that they're doing in Putnam County, and a lot of people feel really, I mean, there's a lot of support for that. It may not be something that lasts. It may be something that, you know, gets taken down eventually by some group that doesn't see things that way. But, you know, our feeling on it is sometimes you have to fight the fight even if you know that you may not win, especially when it comes to something like that. It's on our money, and God we trust. Without the confidence that that money is what it is, and we're not putting our confidence in men. It doesn't say in men we trust. It doesn't say in Congress we trust. It says in God we trust. So, you know, it's kind of the slogan of our country, and there's a lot of people that would like to see it incorporated somehow into the City Hall. And the last issue, I'm not really speaking on as a member of ACAC. I'm speaking on more as a wife and a mother. And I'm here to talk about a concern that I expressed to Chief Eldridge before about racial profiling and harassment. We've lived here for about 15 years. And I think, like I said at the last meeting, we were the first Hispanic family to move into this area. This is my husband, my youngest son, and my oldest son right here. The two things that you never forget about anybody is their gender and their skin color. Stereotyping is just a tendency that we human beings have. It's a mental shortcut of how that we work out the world. And for police officers, you know, they make a stereotype, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, is this person a threat? Is it not a threat? If the only interaction that you've had with somebody of a certain nationality or race is negative, then you tend to assume that stereotype about the people. It only takes one bad time, you know, one thing that happens, and you develop that type of stereotype. Prejudice is an emotional attitude that's impervious to logic. So if you find yourself distorting or ignoring something that I'm saying, then maybe you need to think, you know, is this really me or not? Do I have some kind of prejudice towards somebody? Because I think if you ask the whole room of people, most people here would say, no, I'm not prejudiced. But I'm just asking you to think of what I'm saying with an open mind. I'm from a police family. My uncle's a police chief. My middle son here is an MP with the military. So we understand, you know, that the police need to be safe. Of these three men sitting here, which one do you think's been stopped the most? Anybody care to guess? My son here on the end in the white sweater's been stopped 9 times in 15 years. He's never been taken to jail, though. They're all American citizens. They all have jobs. They all go to church. They all love their friends and family. Caesar here, he likes to go hunting, fishing. Josh, he likes, you know, anything to do with military. And my husband, well, he just kind of putters around now. But, you know, we're just average, everyday people. None of them have any criminal record. My husband had like 20 parking tickets in Chicago, but if you ever parked in Chicago, you know how easy that can happen. But other than that, we don't have any criminal background in our family. I'm not going to waste time going into each incident, but I am going to just hit some of the highlights. Like I said, Caesar's been stopped by the police 9 times. Each time the excuse has been the same. There's a suspicious person in the area. There's a report, somebody reported somebody suspicious. Now we've asked, what's this suspicious person look like? And we've gotten the answer, we don't have to tell you that. When he stopped, he's made to lay face down on the ground. He searched, his IDs ran, background checks run on him, but he's never been arrested any of these times. The most dangerous time was, he was over here by, right across the street. He was walking from there over, our house over on 2nd High over to the park. And my husband saw him walking and he stopped and he said, do you have the key for the house? Because he knew he was going to the park. And my son just said, yeah, I got a key, and then my husband drove off. A few minutes later, he gets over to the park. 5 squad cars came. They thought he was in a drug deal. Now, Josh was in a similar position. He was over at the park one time, him and my daughter, and they were playing soccer. And somebody reported that there was a robbery at the park. When the police pulled up, all they saw was my son running. He was running after the ball. And so right away, they pulled their guns on him, made him lay down, and he came home going, I almost got shot. I thought for sure the police were going to shoot me. You know, I want you to think about this as being your children. What would you think if this was happening to your children? And it's even scarier because you don't really know why it's going on. The only thing that, you know, that there is in common here is that, you know, they're darker skinned people. That doesn't necessarily make them a criminal, though. And it's a dangerous situation when we mix fear and guns together. You know, some of these kids that this happens to, they grow up and they don't trust the police. They don't like the police. They may even run afoul of the police. And the worst thing that could happen is if sometime, you know, somebody accidentally gets shot. There's a lot higher incidence, and y'all can check this out, of people getting shot that are black or brown when they're reaching in their pocket for something like a cell phone than there is of white people. A study was done by state and racial profiling and found that minorities were stopped disproportionately to their demographic area. There was a study that was done back in 2006, and they found that was happening. They were detained longer, and they were given tickets more than they were given warnings. SB 3459, signed by Governor Breslin, I apologize for butchering his name, the Racial Profiling Prevention Act says local enforcement needs to adopt a policy against racial profiling by 2010. And my question is, does Algood have a policy yet? And I guess I'm addressing that to Chief Eldridge.
You don't know if we have a policy on what?
On racial profiling.
No, we don't have a written policy in place specific, no.
Okay. If y'all want to write that down, that is SB 3459, and that's by Governor Bredesen saying that it needs to happen.
The only thing I can say to you, if you're having these issues with my department, if some of your family's been stopped 9 times and put on the ground 9 times, I wish you'd come
Not
in
put on
and
the
see me.
ground 9 times, but he's been stopped 9 times. He was put on the ground twice.
Well,
My son was
I wish you'd come in and see me sooner, because I don't
did
think
talk to you.
I don't recall it. I don't recall you talking to me. But,
At one time, my son was working over at Institutional Wholesale, and he was walking home at night. It was like every night he got stopped.
So as I said, last council meeting, we're not going to tolerate discrimination out of this government. And if there is a specific incident, if you will please file that written report. And if he didn't act on it, we will.
Okay.
But we can't, you know we can't do it now, right? I mean,
No, what I'm
cat's out of the
looking
bag on
for
that,
now,
but-
what I'm looking for now is I would like to see some kind of training. There's lots of places that offer training on racial profiling. You know, it is a practice that's against the law, but it's also human nature. And like I said, I'm sensitive and I empathize with the police's need to protect people and for them to also feel safe. But at the same time, you have to realize that not everybody that has black or brown skin is a criminal. You know, it's just not.
I'm certainly not prejudiced or racist. I've got a great congregation of church members that are next door neighbors to me. And every time I see them go, I smile. I'm happy. I've got friends that are Hispanic, friends that are black. And so, you know, my commitment to you is that we're not going to tolerate that as a government.
Okay, all right. In the next few months, the ACAC is going to be reaching out to racial minorities in Algood to educate them on racial profiling, to inform them of their rights when they're stopped by police, and to tell them how to file complaints if this happens. And so you're saying that you would like us to also file a complaint directly with the police?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You can't deal with generalities. You're going to have to deal with specifics. And I think the problem with your statements tonight is it leaves a whole taste of generalities, of that generally Algood Police Department is generally prejudiced against the Hispanic community, and I just cannot believe that that's the case.
I can just say what's generally happened to my family.
Well, and that's not a general, that's a specific. And if you'll bring those specifics, we'll deal with specifics and open-minded about that, guarantee it.
Well, I do know that in order for a police department to act as an ICE agent, that you have to have a memorandum of agreement. And I checked, and the only police office that has that is the Tennessee Highway Patrol. So, you know, you're aware of the stop that was made last month of the Hispanic pastor. And he came out to drive another car home. And when he came out, he showed him his driver's license. They asked to see his driver's license. He showed a valid driver's license.
Okay, we're not going to talk about an open case in a city court meeting, in a city council meeting either, so that's just not going to happen. And facts are what they are. We're not going to talk about that in a city council meeting.
Okay, well, I'm not asking for a conversation on it or anything.
Do you have other concerns you'd like to address the council about?
Well, since we began this meeting with asking God to be with us, I'd just like to share with you what God says about foreigners. You shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you. You shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. That's from Leviticus. Do not mistreat an alien or oppress him, for you were aliens in Egypt. That's Exodus. And we're all about to go out and celebrate the holidays, and it commemorates a time when our European ancestors were aliens in a foreign country, and they were rescued by natives. So when you're telling this story to your kids, I would just ask that you think about, you know, your own actions, your own feelings, and now that you guys are the governing body here, now that you know that there's something going on, whether you want to believe it or if you want to think that, you know, this is something that's being made up, but I got a feeling once that people do start complaining, you're going to start seeing a whole lot more of this. But I do hope that, you know, what I'm saying here, maybe it was I know it's not the first that Mr. Eldridge has heard of it because I brought it to him myself. And that's all I have to say on that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't remember it, but I won't tolerate that conduct from my officers, and I don't think we've got it. And all I can tell you is tonight, if you have an incident happen like that, come up there and sit down in my office.
If we have an incident like that happen, you'll be the first one to know, but it'll also go a whole lot higher.
What?
Well, here we go again.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Yeah.
So we're going to be productive, and we're going to work together, and then we're going to make threats. Thank you, Pam. Any other citizens like to speak? There being no further business before this council, I would move adjournment.
Second.
We stand adjourned.